Hello everyone and welcome to your live. Today we're going to be talking about blood sugar regulation. And honestly, if you are struggling with your energy, if you're struggling with your health, if you're struggling with like any type of health issue, inflammation, with your hormones, with weight, this is the number one place to start. Because that's the one thing I hear all the time. Because I talk about genetics, I talk about gut microbiome testing and whatnot. And there's so many things approaches that we can take. And at the end of the day, if your blood sugar is not regulated, it is going to cause chronic stress in your body. It is going to cause chronic inflammation and it's going to prevent your body's ability to just function properly. So there's no point in doing all these other protocols and going hard at the gym and trying to work out if you're not going to regulate your blood sugar. You know, for people spending all this money on like anti-aging protocols and creams and whatnot, like your body is literally going to your aging is going to accelerate unless you can get your blood sugar under control. When it comes to hormones, there's so many things you can do, but your hormones will not be regulated if you don't get your blood sugar under control. And then it just goes on for everything. Anyways, so I can go on about blood sugar, but so what we're going to do in this live is we're going to talk about what it is, how it's affecting your body, your energy, your performance, your hormones, and then essentially what regulating it looks like. And then if you guys have more questions, you can always reach out to me personally. You can post them down below, whatever you feel comfortable with. So blood sugar, when we're talking about blood sugar, we're talking about the concentration of glucose in your bloodstream. So after you eat a meal, after you're snacking, anytime you eat or you consume even like juice or whatnot, you are going to have glucose entering your body. And at this point, your blood sugar, the amount of glucose, in your body is going to increase. Now, depending on what you eat and how that meal is structured depends on the amount of increase. So, you know, if you were to have something that was really well balanced, you had some protein and some fats and then some carbohydrates, and some good fiber in that, your blood sugar is going to be happy. It's going to be stabilized. You're going to have good, sustainable energy going from like breakfast to lunch or from lunch to dinner. Now, if that meal has no protein, has no fiber content, if it's like refined and whatnot, if there's a ton of sugar in it, that is going to spike your glucose with like your blood sugar level because you have a high amount of glucose in your body. So what happens is your body is going to release insulin. Insulin is going to take the glucose from your bloodstream and it's going to communicate with your cells. It's going to help your cells to open up so it can take in that glucose. Now, when there's excess glucose, if the cells are like, we're tapped out, we're good, then your body will also store it. Your body will store it in your liver as well as your muscles. Now, if there's excess, if there's spillover on top of that, now we have what's called like an elevated blood sugar level. And this will happen from either foods that have too much sugar in them, they're refined, they don't have enough substance to them, or you're not combining them with proteins and fats to like stabilize your blood sugar level. So now your blood sugar skyrockets and you get this energy spike, but then not long after, depending on what it is, whether it's depending on what your food is, or if it's like a beverage or whatnot, you can get a crash within a matter of like 30 minutes or even a half an hour to about an hour. So at this point, you end up on this roller coaster where you need more food to get your energy back up. And then it just becomes this vicious cycle. Chronically snacking all the time does this too. Your body becomes dependent on glucose for fuel because its ability to tap into fat for fuel is now not as efficient because you're constantly feeding it glucose, so it becomes reliant on that. So what happens is when it's chronically elevated, it is going to cause a ton of hormonal chaos and a ton of inflammation in many different ways. So one way that we see it is through glycation. Glycation is when we have the excess glucose. It is now binding to other proteins, to fats, to DNA, and it's causing now structural problems and it can't perform optimally. So we see this, we see it in our skin. When excess glucose starts binding to proteins in our skin, we start to see accelerated fine lines, deep wrinkles. With people who have type 2 diabetes, who've had this for a prolonged period of time, we start to see permanent nerve damage. We can even see vision loss. So glycation is now going to really accelerate aging internally, but also on the outside as well, and causing just ongoing damage. And then next to that, we see an immune response. So immune cells are now being triggered, and we start to see a ongoing accelerated release in just different immune cells that are going to be causing inflammation, cytokines being one of them. So now we're seeing an inflammatory immune response with the chronically elevated glucose levels. So you can expect to see just inflammatory immune problems. So if you are dealing with different types of like autoimmunes, this is heavily linked to that as well. And then we even see other inflammatory markers such as like NF-κB. So this is a transcription factor that sits in the cell. And when blood sugar is chronically elevated, it becomes activated, and then it moves into the nucleus where it then turns different genes on and off. So now we're looking at like a deeper layer of inflammation that's on like a genetic standpoint. And then furthermore, if insulin is just chronically elevated to the point where it becomes, where you start to have insulin resistant, now you start to see like another whole new layer of inflammation happening. Your adipose tissue is now going to start triggering your body with inflammation. And we see this in many different ways. We see this with our hormones as well, which we'll talk about in a couple minutes. But what happens is it's not only is it causing a lot of inflammation in your body and this immune response and the accelerated aging, but we start to see mitochondrial dysfunction. So your mitochondria is your body's powerhouse. Your mitochondria, think of it as like your body's like computer chip, where it basically is communicating to almost like everything in your body, how it's going to perform and how it's going to function. So your mitochondria is heavily related to your energy that you have. So think of like ATP, your production, it relies on your mitochondria. So the electron transport chain becomes compromised. It just can't keep up basically. And energy isn't produced as efficiently when we have accelerated glucose within our bloodstream. So now we're seeing that our mitochondria isn't working optimally. So when you are waking up and you're dragging your feet throughout the day, you're tired, you're just exhausted. Burnout, stress is one thing, but when it comes to diet, your diet alone is now, like your diet is compromising your cell's ability to just function properly. So now you're not even producing energy properly. And then we start to see accelerated oxidative stress within the mitochondria. We start to see a lot more reactive oxygen species. So if you are someone with an SOD2 genetic predisposition, so this basically means that you are predisposed, so in a way where your body, I'll back up for a second. Your mitochondria, it does all of these things. It works really hard for you, but in those processes, it creates a lot of metabolic waste. So your body will release different enzymes and it works to clear out that metabolic waste. Now, if you are predisposed in a way where that process is slow, you end up with higher amounts of reactive oxygen species within your mitochondria. This causes mitochondria damage. Now, your mitochondria is responsible for the synthesis of your hormones. It influences DNA replication, cell signaling, your body's stress response. So it creates this huge ripple effect. So even if you're not genetically predisposed to where you have SOD2, just by having chronically elevated levels of glucose in your body from not regulating your diet to regulate your blood sugar levels, you will see excess oxygen, just damage overall with your mitochondria. And the thing with the mitochondria, as I mentioned, it synthesizes your hormones. So your body, it all starts within the mitochondria. Your body takes cholesterol, so it's really important to have healthy, adequate amounts of cholesterol within your diet because your body needs it to produce hormones. And then within the mitochondria, it goes on to start synthesizing your estrogen, your testosterone, your progesterone. So if your mitochondria, if you are eating in a way that is chronically elevating your blood sugar level to the point that it's chronic, it's ongoing, and it's now causing mitochondrial dysfunction where your mitochondria cannot perform, it can't synthesize hormones as efficiently as your body needs it to. So now at this point, it's affecting your hormones. And the thing with insulin resistance, so when I say insulin resistance, this means it's been going on for a period of time and your body cannot, like insulin, its job is to help to get glucose, into the cell. And now it can't even do that properly. That process is not efficient. Now with women, the one thing that's really important to know is in your luteal phase, your body is naturally a bit more insulin resistant. In the follicular phase and the ovulatory phase, your body can handle, it's a lot more efficient at handling blood sugar, your glucose levels, where in the luteal phase, it's not as efficient. In perimenopause and menopause, this is accelerated. This is why weight training, just lifting weights, is so beneficial, especially in the luteal phase and for perimenopause and menopause, because it helps your body to adapt it just helps your body to adapt to that process where your body is now not utilizing your blood sugar the way that it normally can. So if you're not lifting weights, it's a great time to start doing that, especially if you're struggling with regulating your blood sugar level. So with the blood sugar, if you are insulin resistant, as I mentioned, you are more prone to that in the luteal and perimenopause and menopause. What we start to see is our adipose tissue is now taking the free form testosterone and it's converting it to estrone and estradiol. So now we end up with higher amounts of estrogen in our body in a way that is inflammatory and going to become problematic. And then on top of that, because that free form testosterone is being utilized to convert into estrogen, we don't have the adequate amount of testosterone that our body needs. So for women who are ovulating, this is, when you think of like your prime time where you have a ton of energy, I talked about this in my last live, where in the follicular phase and the ovulatory phase, you are on fire. Like your energy output is phenomenal during this time. You can think clearly, you can articulate properly. You just have amazing energy. You can do high intensity workouts. Your energy is just so much more abundant. However, a big part of that has to do with your estrogen and your testosterone and where it's at. If you are eating in a way that is dysregulating your blood sugar level, as I just mentioned, you're not going to have the right amount of testosterone that you need to have that confidence, that clarity, that extra just like power within your body during that phase, because your body is going to be busy turning it into estrogen. You're not going to have the right ratio of estrogen to progesterone. When you're insulin resistant, it greatly impacts ovulation, which means that if you're not ovulating, you're not producing progesterone, which means that now estrogen and progesterone are becoming very problematic. And this is where you see a ton of the brain fog, the bloating, the extreme fatigue, the PMS, and then a whole bunch of other just health-related issues that are related to inflammation. So anyways, I can go on about blood sugar regulation. If you are just joining in, you will be able to have access to this live once I'm done and it's posted to my page. It's one that you really don't want to miss out. As I said before, if you're struggling with your energy, you're struggling just with your health in general, your weight, your mood, blood sugar regulation is the number one place to start, because really that's where everything begins. It's just knowing how to nourish your body and to fuel your body in a way that sustains your body's performance. Sustains your energy, but also accelerates and supports your body's performance. So your body can perform optimally from the inside out. So if you're not sure how to regulate your blood sugar, it's actually really easy. It can take some practice, and I totally understand if sugar or just, if takeout food has played a really big role in your life. I get it. It's easy, it's fast. It's so convenient, especially if you're busy with your work and just life, it adds up. I get it. And a little bit here and there is not a problem, but when it's consistent, that's when it does become problematic. So like I said, if you are like, I'm done feeling like crap in my body, I'm gonna get my energy back, it is worth trying and being consistent with. So basically you want to make sure that you're eating all of your macronutrients, so your fats, your proteins, and your carbohydrates, but also in the right ratio. You don't want it to be an overload of carbohydrates, and you want to know thy carbs. You want to know which ones are going to have the right amount of fiber that is going to really support and stabilize your blood sugar level and really feed your good gut bacteria. Because if it's the wrong kind of fiber, and I mean the wrong kind of fiber as like the one that has been highly refined, there's no substance to it, and it feeds the bad bacteria. It's overloaded in sugar. It turns straight into sugar because there's no substance to it. So knowing your carbs, combining a good adequate amount of protein, having good healthy beauty oils and fats, this combination right here is going to sustain your appetite. It's going to sustain your energy. You should be able to go from breakfast to lunch without snacking. If you are drinking your water in between, you will not be hungry. If you are hungry, there's a difference. You should literally have grumbling in your stomach. There's a difference between mental hunger, emotional hunger, and then actual physical, biological, like hunger. Ghrelin should be triggered at the point causing your stomach to actually feel grumbly. That is when you know that everything is signaling properly, and you know that your body is telling you, hey, we could actually use some fuel right now. And then that's when you eat your meal. If you have a ton of high stress, and your genetics can also really guide you in this is where it can become even more crystal clear with what the right ratio in between is really, if it looks like 4 hours or 4 hours or 5 hours. If you are under a lot of stress, if your body is really prone to stress, then that 4-hour time frame might be a safer way to go, because the longer you go, it can become a stressor on your body. So for instance, if you are daytime fasting and you go like 10 hours, it becomes a stressor on your body. And for women, it's not that you can't do this. You need to know when in your cycle you should be doing this, because if you do it during the wrong time, it becomes problematic. But if you do it during the right time, it becomes very therapeutic. But on an everyday base, just being able to go 4 to 5 hours in between your meals, this is going to allow your body to properly break down and digest and utilize your food. It takes hours for your food to leave your stomach to go into your small intestine. So if you just keep eating and eating and eating, your body never gets a break, and it's just constantly working. And with your energy, it's very energy consuming to break down foods. So if you want to have energy, if you want to be able to tap into your brilliance, think clearly, and really perform optimally, don't waste your energy on constantly digesting food. So have your 3 nourishing meals. That way you get adequate amounts of food. You're not stressing your body. You give yourself the time to really properly digest. And then after dinner, up until breakfast, if you can go anywhere between like 13 to 14 hours, that is amazing, because that is when your body does the really deep therapeutic healing. That's where fat burning occurs. That's where like the deep healing starts to happen. Anyways, if you want more guidance on how to structure your meals and all that stuff, then schedule your free breakthrough call. That's what I'm here for. We'll talk about your diet. I'll help you to see really clearly what's happening with your diet and where the blood sugar dysregulation is occurring. Some simple tweaks and changes that you can make. And if you want to go further, we can get your blood work done, get you a personalized food plan tailored to your blood levels. We check things like C-reactive protein, just a whole bunch of metabolic blood markers that tell us what's happening with your metabolism, what kind of inflammation you have going on, and how things are firing or misfiring. And then at that point, you get a food plan tailored to your blood levels. And this way, you know how much you need to eat, you know your portions, you know when you should eat, like I said, what you should eat, how much. I find it such a stress relief for a lot of women, especially really busy, high-performing women who are like, I have to focus on my work. I've got enough happening. I don't need to try to figure out all the numbers and the timing and all these things. It's just given to you, and then you have my support every step of the way. So if you want details on that, schedule your free breakthrough call. You can find the link down below. And then if you are wanting more details on how your hormone cycle, as well as just your food choices, are really impacting your energy, your radiance, and how you can really start syncing your life and your diet and your just overall your performance, your business with your hormone cycle for optimal performance, then you can watch my free masterclass, A Woman's Secret Code. That link will be down below. Anyways, I will see you guys later. If you're not already in my private group, the Ambitious Women's Wellness Club, I do have a free event, a live free event happening March 2nd. I'll be popping up live for 5 days. I'll have all the guidelines there that will basically help you put in a little mini reset protocol so you can really start just resetting your body, your metabolism, getting your energy back, your glow back, and just feeling really good in your body again. So that link will be in the comments as well. Anyways, have a great day and I will see you guys later. Bye for now.